r/AskReddit. What happened to the "cool kids from your school after they graduated?" They either got married and had kids, got fat, got into drugs, a combination of 1, 2, and or 3. No one did anything particularly exciting, or became highly successful. I grew up in a very small town/rural area and went to my high school reunion last year. We got there early and drove around town. It looked mostly the same to me, only shabbier in some places. My husband, who grew up in a very nice suburban area with a childhood straight out of an 80s kids movie, was mildly horrified. "You grew up here?" He now knows why I spent many years hiding at home and playing video games. The town was shitty and I didn't fit in. I was in the group of outsiders and we turned out better than most of our classmates as far as careers, life choices, and health go. It was surreal. Most of them played to their strengths and got what seemed like great jobs in our early 20s: real estate agents, bank associates, sales jobs with a significant client-facing aspect. In our early 30s a lot of them got stuck between a contracting middle management tier and aggressive new hires. Some got squeezed out and became stay-at-home parents. Those still working are putting in 10 or 12-hour days to keep up with the new cool kids at the firm. There are 2 notable exceptions. One girl was struck and killed by a drunk driver while still in college. Another took over a failing taekwondo spot, turned it into a small gym, and was crushing it last I heard. My school didn't exactly have the classic popular crowd. We were all cool with each other, and the guy that was the homecoming king, prom king, and Mr. RHS was best friends with a jock and a goth. He was a hippie. We grew up together from birth and our family regularly shared holidays together. We were like siblings and adored each other and looked out for each other through our adolescence and young adulthood. He was absolutely gorgeous. He graduated from UAB and is the type that you thought could do anything. He was always a party goer and started adventuring into harder things in college. I never imagined that there would be a time that he wasn't in my life. It's been years and I still miss him, but it breaks my heart to see him. This isn't my story but my dad's. When he was in middle and high school there was always this popular kid. Both my parents grew up close to each other, but went to different high schools. This was in a second-ish world country, where they had pretty much everything you needed back in the 80s, but not very good quality. I'm talking about crappy TV and cheap food. Turns out, this popular kid who always bullied my dad for being the smart kid was a gang leader. People only found out about this after he graduated, but he was responsible for multiple felonies, possibly even a murder. Literally the day before all of this came out, my mom, who was a year behind my dad, was doing some sort of school fundraiser. When she visited his cafe looking for sales, they told her to come back after dark, possibly to rape her. I'm so glad my mom didn't go, because word got out about his being of a gang leader the next day. The cops were after them, and it was so bad they couldn't kill him with a gun. The police paid money to one of the gang members to poison his drink, which is when he finally died. Moral of the story: don't be a gang leader. Most matured enough to stop being, I partially chose my courses so that I wouldn't be together with anyone from my high school class and do decently well at uni. A fake. One of the guys who left us before we went into A-levels never graduated to my knowledge. He was at our first class reunion from high school after everyone else graduated, and well, it turns out he's been kicked out at home and now works some shitty job where he just carries rocks around or something. Said he hated the job, but when he asked me what I wound up doing, and I told him I was in my second year of an apprenticeship and making maybe $200 less than him per month. Mind you, I was making less than 1k a year, which is still a lot for an apprentice. He suggested I quit and do something like him to earn more money. Fast forward 2 years and I make more than twice as much as him with lots of benefits at a job I actually enjoy and where I'm not practically selling my health for my daily ramen. One of them became a moderately famous rapper in Germany, Carla Gap. Ironically, this was the kid no one thought would ever amount to anything. One of them is now member of the regional parliament and spends his time there still talking as much shit as he always did. One of them killed someone while driving under the influence of alcohol and is currently in jail. Don't know what became of the rest. Suppose we were the cool kids. Mind you, when the curriculum you're attending is electronics/computers, network and programming, that bar isn't necessarily the highest. We didn't compete with Brad McJockstrap, so to speak. We were the party boys. It's been high and low. One dove straight into day trading, working on the side to cover his losses. He's sharp as all hell these days. Another still looks for his break on the music stage. Unfortunately, I believe him to be a bit too generic to break through. Third one moved back home to work as a personal assistant for his father with owls. Somehow the proper dickhead of the group got his shit together after being thrown out by his parents. Now a father of 2 and happily married. On the contrary, the high society suburban kid's now stuck in the pits of decadence still. As for me, I've done decently well, moved up from working in telemarketing and sales into customer support and waitering, and am now working as a consultant in the automotive industry. We are 26 this year, so 7 years out of graduation. One of them got pregnant before she even finished school. She's now 22 and pregnant with her 5th kid. When the kids are born, she dumps them on her parents and goes out partying until she finds the father of her next one. She relinquished custody of her 3 eldest to family because she couldn't be bothered to take them to school. She also does drugs regularly. Actually, pretty much all the popular girls wound up this way. One guy moved to Australia. He's doing super well for himself, and last I heard he was in some high performing corporate job earning a great wage. Another is into politics and is doing something revolving around that. Again, he seems to be doing okay for himself. Well, I graduated high school 5 years ago. There were a few groups that were considered the cool kids. But in general, some of the cool kids of course got fat. One in particular I know of, quite an asshole, but he was alright to me most of the time. Played football as a punter, became quite an overweight guy. There was a big clique of cool kids that really stuck to themselves. They were a group of about a dozen or so, really tight-knit group of people. Friends all throughout high school, and as far as I can tell, they all still hang out and are close. Good for them, I guess. They were cool, but they weren't mean. They just kept to themselves. But in terms of their coolness, people thought they were high up there. The rest that I'm thinking of went off to college somewhere across the United States. Generally played the same sports in college as they did in high school. Stayed in excellent shape. The last one I know of, he was a real asshole, but very popular. We had an engineering class together where we were partners in a larger group. He ended up moving to New York for a while. IDK what he does for work or anything. Last I saw he was on a trip in Australia. One got ran over by a truck while sunbathing on a beach. Took some damage but not much. One went to prison for sending a lot of mescaline through the mail. One sold 50,000 hits of acid to an undercover cop in a school zone. One got arrested for possession with intent to sell crack and shacking up with an underage girl when he was in his late 20s. One had a nervous breakdown while going to an Ivy League school. One played briefly in the NFL. One ended up teaching at a local community college and is still an amazingly chill dude. Don't really keep close track, so only hear the really out there stuff mostly. I'm sure lots of them are leading great and happy lives. I just don't hear about those. I remember in 1999 to 2000 driving a friend to an ATM. At the time the bank was notorious for letting customers overdraw their accounts, but only between like midnight and 12:05 am. Some other girl turned up intending to do the same thing and got into a screaming match with my friend. I didn't recognize the girl at first as she looked really off her face, but she was one of the popular kids. She was screaming that she was going to overdraw her account to go to the local 24/7 supermarket to buy nappies for her baby. Me and my friend were going to the same supermarket just to buy snacks and cigarettes, and I offered to pay for the nappies as I felt bad and my friend was only overdrawing for trivial things. Popular girl asked for the money instead, which I didn't have. I was planning to pay by card at the supermarket. She screamed forget it and ran off. I later realized she wanted the actual cash to pay her dealer and that she was on heroin. I hope she didn't have kids. Other than that, a lot of the popular ones have had different lives. According to Facebook, a few have started families. Some popular people did it with each other. Some are totally different to how they were at school. Egg people who were selfish are really giving now. I've bumped into one or two on a visit to my old city and had them demand to buy me lunch. I was cool kid in high school everyone wants to be friends with, and they did. I was okay with everyone, but after school only people that I approach in the street are those cool weird pack of people. But it's alright, I'm raised poor, and after high school my parents didn't have money for university, so I found a job. Decent pay. Worked couple of years, then I was jobless for some time. Found another, now jobless again. Had collected money to finance my own education, but had to use it cause life 25 now. Had 2 big, serious loving relationships, and I'm okay with every ex. Don't have any big issues except mental problems. 3 suicide attempts, physical/mental abuse from childhood, and finding out in the end that I'm bipolar. But I still go on. Some people still want to be friends with me, but I isolate myself from time to time. So to answer your question, on first look decent normal life, but reality is not so nice. Sorry if this sounded as vent. One of them joined the Air Force, and then after tech school he drove 2 under 18-year-olds without ID to the commissary in a government vehicle. He was an MP, and bought them booze, and took them back to his barracks, and gave them some prescription pills, and drank with them, and had sex with both of them. Then he drove them back off base, in the government vehicle, while he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol, and then passed out at one of their places. In the morning one of them called up the base commander and told him all about it. Anyone wanna guess what the price for all those indiscretions was? She got a DUI and refused to blow in the breathalyzer. Basically got a double DUI. Then she claimed bankruptcy on the silver spoon farm her mother gave her. Sheriff's sale on the farm, and now she lives in the apartment in the barn because the buyer took pity on her. Also, she's morbidly obese now. That's my sister that was so cool in high school. I made a few million and don't get to rub it in her face because she won't speak to me because I said she was a failure to her face. She can't stand people pointing out how bad she fucked up and won't speak to anyone who tells her the truth. She still hangs out with the same cool kids from her grade. She's 41 now. Not a single one of her cool kid friends is successful. It's so satisfying to me. My sister was my high school bully. I win. Go sleep in the barn B. Don't know if relevant, but one super popular girl I knew that was nice to everyone including me. I learned that last year she got into a pretty bad collision with a drunk driver. Almost died. Last I had saw her before that she was going to college to be a nurse and got engaged. This was before the accident that almost made her lose a leg and possibly her ability to walk. She endured some spinal fractures and had to put everything on hold to try and recover. Don't know what's going on now, but hear ugly rumors that the fiancé is getting real sick of taking care of her, which I hope is not true, since I know the guy some from cousins. Sometimes it's the good people that get awful crap happen to them for no reason. I wasn't exactly the cool kid, but was very well known and pretty highly liked. I was often a lead in the drama productions for the school and was in general very popular in a certain crowd and known by a lot of people. I'd often come to school as Santa or other stuff and was generally seen as fun and outgoing. It's been about 5 years now. I've gained 50 pounds, struggling to pay rent, also transitioned to a woman, and haven't really adjusted to life in the real world. It's hard to find relationships, hard to find new friends, and have no way of showing off my old personality / theatricality. Edit. Also the high school band I was in fell apart. Shocking absolutely no one. Coolest kid in my school was one of those charismatic prodigies. He got full ride scholarships. He partied with the jocks, played magic with the nerds, talked to me about building computers and always kicked my at Counter-Strike, and he played 4 instruments before he was 15. I think he got a degree in chemical engineering, then went back for 1 year to get a music theory degree too. Then after 5 years of working he decided that he wanted to be a doctor, so he went back to med school and eventually started his own practice. Dude had cheat codes on. One of those people you just kind of wish would go into politics. I grew up with a guy. Our families were friends. We'd gone to the same school for most of our lives. I'd spent countless days at their house with his sister growing up. I was 18. Found out he'd passed away from a motorcycle accident. I hadn't seen him or his family in years, but I cried so hard that night. He was a great guy, had a great heart, the kind of guy everyone loved. Hundreds turned up for his funeral, mostly kids from the school we'd all gone to. It was incredibly sad. Basically, I don't really know about most of them. The one girl who was like the queen bee in my class ended up getting pregnant at 20 by her longtime boyfriend, returning home while she had the baby, and then finished school locally. I think she married the boyfriend, and they are still married. I should look that up. Her son should be in his mid-20s now. I remember finding out about this when I was preparing for a semester abroad, and how different our lives immediately became. Another kid from a few years before me owns a bar and dabbles in music. Seems pretty happy. A girl from that same class, who was going to go out and conquer Broadway, ended up on a soap for a few years, then did audiobook narrations, ended up in Las Vegas. She's now divorced, and from the little bit I've seen on Facebook, is not aging well. Meh. Quite a fall, because, whoa, she wasn't a shareable in high school. A couple of the popular girls came out as lesbians. Looking back, how did we not know? A few other people I went to my 25th last year seemed to be normal suburban moms and dads, working, taking care of the house, etc, etc. Foremost, I genuinely don't know. For one boy, he had dreams of moving down south to get away from the cold winters, as well as experience life in a bigger city. A big aspiration was also to break into the music industry. A very polite, happy, charismatic boy that everyone liked. He did make it down south, had some steady work, and even was playing music here and there. You know how sometimes you get certain feelings about someone, but you don't know why. Little things they say and do just cause you to get a particular aura from them. I always got a feeling that he was carrying a lot of sadness internally. I remember him getting a little defensive about smoking marijuana, stating that he liked the way it made him feel. This feeling of joy led him down a destructive path of drug experimentation in order to find greater joy. He overdosed and died this past weekend. Some of them became well-adjusted adults with successful careers and are very happy in life. Others though became total train wrecks. The group of girls I used to hang out with that were considered "edgy" and "cool" ended up being complete shitshows with serious alcohol and addiction problems. A lot of them suffer from crippling mental health issues as well. It's really sad actually, BC they had so much promise and potential. I hope they get the help they need. Well, there were the actually cool kids who are now happy, successful people with fulfilling lives. And then there were the not really cool kids who are in MLMs, engaged to convicted child molesters, or in prison for killing one of their kids while driving super high and drunk with 3 other small children in the car. The actually cool kids were kind to everyone, and everyone liked them because of it. The not actually cool kids took the stereotype to heart and lived it out, unfortunately. Brandon took my gaming laptop since he doesn't have a job and his dad kicked him out. Jessica got pregnant like not even 6 months after graduating and is no longer going on that awesome anime trip to Japan she always kept talking about. Nate is still in Upper Me and works at a brewery that I know of so far. I still have yet to take him up on that hangout sesh. Bethany did show up at my town one time. Since her brother was now clinically insane, I still had a crush on her, though she stayed the night at my place and I dropped her back home the next day. She didn't talk to me after that. About a year goes by and she is looking pasty white and got fat and has a kid as well. Brianna hasn't changed at all. She's still into her drawings and I check out her DeviantArt page from time to time. Her sister went to a different country, Europe or something, IDK, and is doing good. Fucking loudmouth Rowdy Kyle got put in the slammer because he punched a guy too hard at a party. The guy fell off a wooden porch and died. Steven just walked off the face of the earth. Not a single blip of info. Last info I got was a post he made on FB back in like 2012 talking about a football match. Jordan followed his scholarship through just like his dad wanted him to. I wanted him to stay in town, but who am I stop him from obtaining his dreams? I just wished he would visit so I could have a use for my second player controller. I'm in my 50s, so some of the cool kids, along with the regular kids, have died of one thing or another. The ones who had wealthy parents are, as far as I know, still wealthy, either from learning the family business or through inheritance, or a combination of the two. Some of the women are still quite good looking, while some are not. Most of the guys are fat and or bald, although one guy moved out west where the sun shines and started a business that involves a lot of physical labor. He hasn't gotten fat or bald, but his skin is more sun damaged than average. As far as careers are concerned, I would say all of them have fared better than me, but that's a pretty low bar to hop over. Jake and Ashley were married that spring. She immediately realized it was a mistake and began a decades-long affair, finally divorcing Jake and claiming sole custody of their child. Jake never saw his son again. The Rickster finally found the courage to tell his parents he was gay. They hung up the phone and haven't spoken to him since. Bookworm Beth went to Harvard and met the man of her dreams. He gave her HPV and borrowed $1,400 he has yet to pay back. Buck finally got his act together. Unfortunately, a truck accident would claim both arms and his wiener. He eats through a tube and pees through a different tube. After graduation, Emily was never seen again. If you have any information as to the whereabouts of this man, please contact the police. And of course Mrs. Henderson. She died alone. One girl works in a strip club now. One of the cliques still have their bonfire parties. Some of them are in decent colleges, but with easy majors. One is a bartender. One high school is married now. The girl was a talented girl. She ended up having a baby, and the guy, well, who knows what he does for money. He was always smoking weed. The girl is always trying to be a YouTube vlog mom. And another mom was an attractive girl, but had a baby and is trying to be a viral mom on social media. Many of the athletes who thought were big shots go to local uni, but nothing impressive, and others lost scholarships due to sexual activities with underage girls. They always had their thinking with the wrong head. The remainder are still in school pursuing their degree like me. I went to a private school, so all the cool kids had rich AF parents with their own companies. I think only about 10% of them went off to university, and the remaining 90% immediately started working for their parents. The 10% that went to uni then found jobs with their godparents / other relatives. They still all go around together. Nothing wrong with that. Date within a group. Go to the same club nights. Have the same drama that they had at school. I don't think any of them have made new friends since school. Come to think of it, when school reunions happen, they're the first to sign up. According to one of my friends that went to one, I've never gone as I still talk to the people I want to keep in contact with. They were all showing off about their new cars and houses and whatever, but kind of in a really sad way, like they're just going to be stuck in our same affluent hometown and live the same lives as their parents. The girls have all gotten the load of plastic surgery and the guys look like 45-year-old businessmen, which is weird considering we're 24 to 25. So really what happened to the cool kids is none of them changed apart from they aged really quickly. One became a school principal and has basically no digital footprint. I've been low-key searching for her for 10 years now, and the only thing I've found is that she's continued to be awesome from newsletter results. Both her parents were teachers and super chill when she went from super hardcore units to super easy units and almost got the equivalent of valedictorian ducks. Two were geniuses but lazy. The SAT equivalent indicated they were way smarter than I was. Used his scholarship to get into university in chemical engineering / something else. Failed out. Repeated the trick at another university. Failed out. Went to business school. Failed out. One of the really hot girls became a personal trainer. She's still really hot, only now she has 3 kids and does Instagram / personal trainer for a living. Most of the beautiful girls chilled and became a little more down to earth. Many have found personal success in various forms. Most became housewives raising kids and seem to be happy. Most of the guys ended up working for the mining companies. Good money to be made there. Aussies can probably guess where I grew up in one shot just from that description alone. One of the guys who was cool but used to bully me got beaten to death Christmas Eve after we graduated. The guy was an asshole all the years of high school, ran his mouth off at the wrong person and they came back with friends. They admitted to nothing, got a good lawyer, and walked away free, even though I know 100% for sure that they did it and had zero remorse. I felt sorry for his girlfriend at the time and his parents, but 5 years of shit doesn't tend to make you too empathetic. Also, I think what happened to the less cool kids at my school is way more interesting. A few of them do drugs I believe, a couple of them were using bongs back in high school, one of them got pulled over by the cops multiple times last year for hooning / street racing / being an absolute dickhead, and treated it like a joke, and I'd believe majority of them are still unemployed. Then there's me. Earned myself an awesome traineeship with half decent paper week, never gotten into trouble with the law, never done drugs, and definitely don't plan to, and feeling pretty happy with life currently. And my girlfriend is a 150 centimeters long pillow, and I'm still a virgin. Thank you so much for watching the entire video. I would be so grateful if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel. New videos every day.